Welcome back to your hour. Joining me now is Paul Rosales from Remax Realty Professionals, and today he wanted to talk about the things that people need to do when they're getting ready to purchase a house.
A lot of people, they haven't bought a house in a long time, or they have never bought a house. This is kind of an overview of the process and what they can expect from the point in which they start to when they actually close on the house. We've talked about it before, but when you first start thinking about buying a house, you may think, I'm going to start buying a house a year from now. As soon as you start thinking that, give me a call. I'll help make sure that you go down the right path that you need to go down so there's no mistakes. The first place that we start is going to be getting you pre-qualified. Even though you're not going to buy a house for a year, you need to know what your credit score is. You need to make sure that everything's accurate on your credit report. Don't just assume that it's right, because we've talked about it several times. If your name is John Smith, John D. Smith, there may be a John E. Smith out there, and the credit bureaus don't get paid for accuracy. They get paid to accumulate the data on everybody and then sell it to everybody who wants to purchase the information. So it's not their responsibility. Well, depending on how you look at it, it's not their business model.
It's not their problem.
Right, it's not their business model for accuracy.
Yeah.
There's only about 300 million Americans, but there's 500 million credit records out there. So there's a lot of duplication and mixing things up. So as soon as it starts entering your mind, give me a call. I'll put you in touch with the right people. They'll go over your credit and report, and it doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to pay for it. It'll actually be a conglomeration, kind of like a conglomeration of all three credit reports, and it will even give you your score. So you don't need to pay for that. That way, if everything's okay, then you just keep monitoring your credit for the next year, and when it's time to buy, you do your final pre-qualification, because a pre-qualification letter is only good for somewhere around 60 days. So you do your final pre-qualification level, and one of the nice things about getting that out of the way early is that if you're sitting at, say, a 680 on your credit score, and the next bump down in interest rate requires you to have a 700, the loan officer I set you up with will tell you what you need to do to get to that 700. You'll have a year to work on it. Don't think you're going to get it done in a month, because
it doesn't happen.
No, the credit bureaus are not that quick, and the things that you need to do to build up better credit are not that quick. So just as soon as you start thinking about it, let's work towards getting you the very best interest rate you possibly can. And there may be a couple of things you need to pay off to get your debt to income ratio down, which could also mean a better interest rate for you, better terms on your loan. So it's real important as soon as you start thinking about it.
Could also mean that you can afford a bigger house.
Yeah, yep. It means that you could qualify for a more quality home if that's what you want to do. So there's a number of things that can happen if you start out early. If you start the process out right, you can end up more of with what you want in the end. Once that happens, like I said, you just kind of monitor everything for a while. Then when the right time is there, then we start going out and looking at houses. One of the things that I can do ahead of time to give you a better educated idea of what's on the market is get an idea of what you want, and then I can send you listing updates every week, every day, every month, however you want to get it. And that way you kind of see what's going on in the areas that you're interested in the price ranges. You see how long houses are around, you see how quickly houses come and go from the market. It's a real neat way to actually become more acquainted with the marketplace. Based on all that, when the time comes, we start looking at houses. You start picking the listings you want to go take a look at. We start going out. I set up the showings. You see the houses you want. The average person looks at 8 to 10 houses before they make a choice. Once you find the house that you want, the next stage is we're going to make an offer on the property. And we take a look at the property. If it's overpriced, we ding them on the price. If it's priced right and it's apparent, you can't really ding folks as much on price. Just depending on the house, each house is going to be different. There may be other things in which you ding somebody on price. It might be condition of the property. It may need to be updated, and if that's what you want to do, if you want to get into a fixer-upper so you can build up some sweat equity, we can do that. I can put together lists of foreclosure properties for you, which are going to have a little more room usually in what you pay versus what it'll be worth, your after renovation value. We call it ARV. So that's, we just need to figure out what you want to do, go after those properties, find the property, put the offer in, and then the negotiations begin. Whoever you offer the price on the house to, the terms, they might accept it or they might counteroffer. And then we go into negotiations, and usually in a couple of days that's done. Usually you know whether or not you're going to be able to live with the terms on the purchase, and the other side will know the same. Once we're under contract, you're then going to have an amount of time in which, according to the contract language, in which you've got to get your inspections done and you've got to get your loan started. If we go into contract over the weekend, generally you're going to want to be sitting down Monday or Tuesday with your loan officer to fill out your loan application, because one of the important things on doing that is once you sit down and you do that, that allows them to lock in your rate, your interest rate.
Okay.
And behind the scenes, you can pick whoever you want for inspections. But if you want to go with who I usually use, then great. But we'll use whoever you feel comfortable. You may have an uncle in the termite business. That's fine. We'll use that person. I can set up the times and appointments for the physical inspections on the house as well as the termite inspections. During this time, that's what we're basically waiting on, and that's usually going to be done in about a week. I don't like to let it go out 2 weeks or something like that, because if there's something dramatically wrong with the house, you want to know about it ahead of time. You don't want to have a whole bunch of time or money invested in the purchase process if it's not going to work. So I'll usually get your inspections set up within that first week. You continue to go on to that, and it looks like we're running out of time.
Already.
Wow, when you're having fun, huh? We'll hit on this next time, but pretty much we'll start with inspections next time, and we'll roll on into closing on our next visit together.
Okay, very cool. Well, thanks for joining us. Are you stick around and watch the movies with me?
Sure, sounds good.
Okay, we'll be back in just a couple of minutes with some movie releases, so stay with us.